Your Erroneous Zones was published 30 years ago. And what I've discovered is what Earl Nightingale told me when I was just getting started in this whole business, when something called the strangest secret. We become what we think about all day long. We become what we think about all day long. But more than that, understanding that your thoughts are real, that they have an impact. Isn't it conceivable that your thought can have an impact on whether or not you can attract what you want into your life? That you can extend it out into a universe which is perfect, which has no need for you to interfere with it, which is always doing exactly what it is supposed to do. No restrictions on it. And it always has been doing it, and it always will be doing it. And everything that you're going through, it's all part of the perfection of all of this. That you are not any of the things that you've come to believe that you are. You spent a whole lifetime working on understanding that. I'm looking at the things that we believed in the morning of our life. What we were taught, what we were told when we came into this world, what you were told was important for you to do. It's important for you to go to school. It's important for you to get good grades. We throw this stuff at our children. We throw it at ourselves. It's important for you to look a certain way. It's important for you to make the team. It's important for you to defeat somebody else. It's important for you to figure out what other people are doing and get there ahead of them so that they don't get ahead of you. It's important for you to win. I'm just scratching at the surface here of all of these things that we've been conditioned and told, this is what you're here for, this is what it's about, and you bought into it. You just hook, line, and sinker. We took it. We all did. I did too. We all did. And then you get to a point, and I just share with you this one observation from Jung called the stages of life. He says, thoroughly unprepared, we take the step into the afternoon of life. Worse still, we take this step with the false presupposition that our truths and ideas will serve as hitherto. But we cannot live the afternoon of life according to the program of life's morning. Hear that. Really hear that, because most of you here are in the afternoon of your life, and it has nothing to do with how old you are, by the way. This can happen at 14, or some of you stay in the morning of your life for 16 lifetimes. We cannot live the afternoon of life according to the program of life's morning. For what was great in the morning of your life, getting the grades, making the cheerleading team, being a good daughter, getting the gold star, saving your money, getting the job, whatever it is, what was great in the morning will be little at evening. And what in the morning was true, which is a big word here today, what in the morning was true will at evening have become a lie. Now imagine how many of us are attempting to live the afternoon of our life by lies. They just don't work anymore. I mean, is the most important thing for you to get ahead of somebody else? To look a certain way? To have the right jewelry on? To get the job? Or is it to be on purpose? Is it to be making a difference? Is it to understand what I wrote about in 10 Secrets for Success, the second secret? That you're not going to die with your music still in you. Is it to know God? Is it to feel close to something so profoundly important that in here there's a knowing that I haven't been actualizing it, I haven't been fulfilling it? What am I here for? What am I here for? It's a question that you begin to ask yourself when I speak about purpose. And then you say, well, it's to be like It's to be like God. That's what God realization is, to return to that from which you originated, the place of your source, the Tao. To be the Tao, to be it, to be the great way. Your objective is to be like God, to return to your source, to your Father, whatever you want to call it.
You are not your wounds. You are not the ache that once hollowed your chest at midnight, not the trembling voice that broke beneath the weight of unspoken words, not the betrayal that split your trust wide open like thunder tearing the sky. You are not the memories that haunt you or the names you were called when the world forgot how to be kind. You are not the pain. You are the awareness of the pain. You are the light that observed it all, silently, eternally. When you were born, you didn't arrive carrying stories of inadequacy. You didn't cry because you were ashamed. You didn't question your worth. You came as pure presence, without labels, without bruises, without wounds. You came from the infinite, dipped in divine essence, kissed by the breath of the eternal. That sacred truth has never left you. It only became buried beneath the rubble of human experience. What if I told you that nothing that has ever happened to you has the power to define you unless you let it? What if your trauma is not your identity, but a teacher that came in disguise? What if the greatest heartbreaks are not there to destroy you, but to awaken the part of you that no longer needs to be validated by anything external? What if your suffering was a seed, and now is the season to let it bloom into wisdom? There is a voice within you that has never been hurt. There is a presence in you that has never been abandoned. There is an essence so whole, so untouched by the illusions of this world, that even your deepest wound cannot reach it. That is who you are. You are the sky. Your pain is the passing weather. The ego wants to replay the hurt, keep the wound alive, make it your name, your badge, your narrative. It will tell you, you are broken, you are unsafe, you are unworthy. But who is this you that hears those words? Who is the one watching those thoughts arise? That is your soul. That is the witness. That is the still, timeless you. And the moment you identify with that eternal presence, you become free. Freedom isn't about changing what happened, it's about changing your relationship to what happened. You can't rewrite the past, but you can choose whether to relive it or release it. Every time you touch a memory and give it permission to pass through you without clinging to it, you heal. Every time you refuse to define yourself by your scars, you reclaim your power. Every time you stop asking, why did this happen to me? And start asking, what is this here to teach me? You step into the sacred alchemy of transformation. The wound is not who you are. The wound is where the light entered. There is an old Sufi proverb that says, the wound is the place where the light enters you. And so often we misinterpret this as meaning we must stay wounded to be spiritual. But that is not what the mystics meant. The light enters through the wound, yes, but it does not stop there. It enters so it may heal, and in healing, it reveals to you what has always been whole. You are not your brokenness. You are the light that came to mend it. You see, the universe doesn't make mistakes. There are no accidental souls. You came here with a blueprint, with purpose written into your very cells, and no amount of suffering can erase that. In fact, the pain may be the path that leads you home. The shattered places, they are not your shame. They are your initiation. The philosopher Heraclitus once said, no man ever steps in the same river twice, for it's not the same river, and he is not the same man. You are not who you were when the pain found you. You have changed, grown, unfolded, and now you are standing on the edge of becoming. Forgive yourself for the ways you coped when you didn't know how to heal. Forgive yourself for clinging to identities rooted in survival. Forgive yourself for believing the lies of the ego when you were too weary to hear the truth of your soul. There is nothing in you that needs to be fixed, only remembered. You are not a project. You are a presence. The spiritual journey is not about becoming something. It is about unbecoming everything that is not truly you. It is the shedding of stories, of wounds, of masks. It is the return to essence, to that silent space within where nothing has ever been broken. Think of a tree that has been struck by lightning, the bark scorched, a branch fallen. But look again in the spring. See the new leaves sprouting, the sap still rising, life continuing its sacred rhythm. The wound is part of its story, yes, but it is not the whole story. And so it is with you. The ego will say, protect yourself. The soul will say, open. The ego will say, you are damaged. The soul will whisper, you are divine. The ego will say, stay in fear. The soul will sing, love anyway. The healing begins not when the pain ends, but when the identification with the pain ends. When you stop saying, this is who I am, and start saying, this is what I experienced, and I am the one who witnessed it all. You are the witness, the awareness, the vast open field of presence in which all things come and go. You are not your wounds. You are the love that survived them. You are not your wounds. You are not what they did to you. You are not what you lost. You are not the rejection, the abandonment, the silence, or the noise. Those were moments, not definitions. Those were storms, not structures. The sacred architecture of your soul remains untouched. You are not here to be defined by the chapters that brought you pain. You are here to realize you are the author, not the page. There is a stillness that lives beneath all things. Beneath the chaos, beneath the sorrow, beneath the name you were given and the roles you perform, there is a holy silence that has never been disturbed. It is the part of you that watched you cry and did not crumble. It is the part of you that walked through fire and still whispered love to the world. That part of you is not your story. It is your soul. It is the eternal you before the world told you who to be. And the truth is, your wounds do not make you weak. They make you wider. They open the heart, stretch the spirit, expand the soul. They are not signs of failure. They are invitations to remember your wholeness. Every time your heart broke, it was not the end. It was a cracking open, a sacred rupture through which something larger could be born. Pain is a holy messenger. It arrives not to punish, but to reveal. It is the finger pointing back to the presence within you that never left, even in the darkest hours. And yet, we resist it. We numb it, we shame it, we bury it beneath the noise of distraction, but pain unacknowledged becomes the prison. Pain embraced becomes the portal. When the Buddha said, life is suffering, he was not cursing existence, he was blessing it with honesty. He was inviting us to stop running, because it is only when we stop running from pain that we can finally meet the presence that transcends it. That presence is you. You are not your wounds. You are the unchanging awareness in which the wound appeared, healed, and dissolved. You are the field, not the storm. You are the light, not the shadow. You are the witness of the wound, not the wound itself. And when you return to this truth, healing begins not as an effort, but as a natural unfolding. Let go of the need to explain why it happened. The mind wants reasons. The soul wants freedom. And freedom comes not from the answer, but from the release. You are allowed to not understand it. You are allowed to not justify it. You are allowed to simply say, this hurt me, and I will no longer carry it. Imagine your soul like a mountain. Wind and rain may erode the surface. Lightning may split the bark of the trees, but the mountain remains, steady, silent, immovable. That is who you are, beneath it all. You may have been bruised, but you were never broken. You may have fallen, but you have never failed. There are no wasted wounds. Every one of them carves space for more compassion. Every one of them deepened the well of your empathy. And that is the sacred paradox. The very pain that once threatened to shatter you now makes you more whole. The ego clings to pain because it uses it to build identity. It says, this is what happened to me, this is who I am. But the soul is not interested in who you were. The soul is always whispering who you are. Right now, in this breath, in this eternal now, the soul says, you are light, you are enough, you are free. Forgiveness is not condoning. Forgiveness is not forgetting. Forgiveness is freedom. It is the sacred act of saying, I choose peace over poison. I choose truth over story. I choose to no longer bleed from a wound I did not inflict. That choice is yours. It always has been. Healing is not becoming invincible. It's becoming transparent, letting the light pass through you again, letting love flow again, letting the river of grace wash away the debris of identity until all that remains is presence, naked, real, awake. You are not your wounds. You are the open sky into which the clouds of sorrow have passed. You are the sacred observer, the divine breath behind the grief, the untouched spirit beneath the trauma. That is why nothing you've ever gone through has managed to extinguish you, because you are eternal. And even now, in this moment, with everything you carry, you are whole. You don't need fixing, you need remembering. You need to remember that you came here not to stay safe, but to be free. Not to avoid pain, but to transcend it. Not to live without scars, but to learn that scars do not diminish the soul, they illuminate it. When you begin to see your pain not as the end of your story, but as a sacred sentence in a much larger book, everything changes. Suddenly the tears were necessary. The silence was sacred. The darkness was divine. Because they brought you here to this moment where you can finally say, I am not my wounds. I am not my story. I am not my fear. I am love remembering itself. I am presence awakening to itself. I am spirit, infinite, eternal, whole. And so are you. You are not your wounds. The world may have told you otherwise. It may have pointed at your scars and tried to name them failure. It may have seen your tenderness as weakness, your silence as defeat. But that was the world speaking from its own fear. That was the world forgetting its own light. You must not listen to the echo of unawakened minds. Listen instead to the silence within you that has never forgotten who you truly are. You are not the brokenness. You are the one who survived it. And even more than survival, you are the one who transformed because of it. The caterpillar does not curse the cocoon. It surrenders to the darkness because it knows in some eternal place beyond the mind that the wings are coming. What feels like death is often just the shedding of an old self. What feels like collapse is often the beginning of becoming. Trust this. Pain is not the absence of God. Pain is the voice of your spirit calling you home. Home not to safety, but to surrender. Home not to avoidance, but to awareness. Home to the part of you that remains untouched by all that has ever happened. Rumi said, try not to resist the changes that come your way. Instead, let life live through you. When you stop resisting your wound, it stops ruling your life. When you stop fighting what hurt you, you begin to uncover what healed you. You are not your wounds. You are the timeless breath behind the pain, the breath that has been with you through every tear, through every disappointment, through every closed door. That breath is God whispering, I never left. You've felt lost, we all have. But how can you ever truly be lost when what you're seeking lives within you? You search for healing, but healing is the return to your own being. Not the self made of memory and fear, but the self made of awareness and light. You are not here to carry your suffering like a badge. You are here to transcend it. You are here to become so deeply rooted in your soul that nothing external can shake the truth of who you are. Do not reduce your vastness to one moment of pain. You are an entire cosmos pretending to be a person, a river of eternity flowing through a temporary form. And yes, this form may bleed, it may ache, but the river flows on, untouched, undisturbed. Let go of the idea that healing must look like perfection. Healing is not linear, it is not clean, it is not always graceful. Sometimes it looks like falling apart, like lying on the floor in surrender, like being cracked open so fully that there is no turning back. And that is the gift, because once you are cracked open, the light inside you has no choice but to shine. You are not your wounds. You are not the childhood you had to survive. You are not the relationship that failed. You are not the words spoken in anger or the silence that followed. You are not the missed opportunity, the diagnosis, the loss. You are not the night you almost gave up. You are the dawn that followed. You are the quiet resilience no one saw. You are the breath that kept going. You are the heart that chose to stay open, even when it would have been easier to close. And that is the miracle. Not that you were never wounded, but that you kept loving anyway. That is the divine in you. You are not what happened. You are how you chose to meet what happened. That is where your power lives, not in rewriting the past, but in reclaiming the present. Not in erasing the pain, but in choosing to no longer let it name you. The soul does not want to keep score. The soul wants to be free. So let go, not because it didn't matter, but because you matter more. Release the resentment, not because they deserve it, but because you do. Release the identity built on wounds, not because it was false, but because it is too small for who you are becoming. Release the need to understand everything. Some things are not meant to be understood with the mind, but held with the heart. You are not your wounds. You are the love that was always there. You are the silence beneath the noise. You are the presence that remains when everything else falls away. And so now, in this sacred moment, choose again. Choose not to carry what is not yours. Choose not to replay the story that keeps you small. Choose to remember that you are infinite. Choose to rise. Because every time you rise, not in spite of your pain, but through it, you teach the world what healing really looks like. You become a lighthouse for others still lost in the storm. You become a reminder that love is stronger than fear, that presence is more powerful than pain, that spirit cannot be broken. You are not your wounds. You are the healing. There comes a moment, quiet, almost imperceptible, when the soul no longer seeks to be defended. It no longer clings to its history or waits for the world to affirm its worth. It simply rests not in the memory of what has been, but in the awareness of what is. And in that sacred pause, where nothing needs to be added and nothing needs to be erased, the truth stands clear. You were never incomplete. This realization does not arrive with trumpets. It doesn't crash through your resistance with force. It arrives like dawn, slowly, gently, turning darkness into light without asking permission. And suddenly, all that once felt unbearable becomes somehow sacred. Not because it was right, but because it led you here to this tenderness, this openness, this reverence for your own becoming. What you once saw as damage is now the doorway to depth. Not a wound to be covered, but a passage into clarity. And from that clarity, a soft knowing rises a knowing that does not need to be proven or shouted. It is the quiet authority of the soul reclaiming its ground, not as a warrior, but as a witness. You begin to understand that healing was never about going back to who you were, but about releasing everything you never truly were. You are not here to perfect your past. You are here to transcend it. You are not here to edit your story so it hurts less. You are here to outgrow the story entirely. To rise from the page as the presence that authored it, not the character caught in its plot. Let yourself feel that. Let yourself remember that who you are is not confined to the body that trembled or the mind that fractured in the face of pain. You are the stillness behind the trembling, the space beyond the thought. You are the witness who watched the heartbreak and the love that stayed even after the pieces fell. You are what survived. Not in spite of the storm, but through it, with it, and ultimately beyond it. The soul does not fear the storm. The soul understands that every gust of wind strips away what was never yours, that every lightning flash illuminates a truth too long hidden, that the thunder is not a warning but a drumbeat calling you home to yourself. And what is left, once the storm has passed, is not emptiness, it is spaciousness. It is peace, not as the absence of conflict, but as the presence of alignment when who you are no longer pretends to be who you were. There is no redemption in reliving the pain, only in releasing it. Not through force, not through effort, but through remembrance. Because what the ego clutches to the need to justify, to defend, to hold on the soul, gently lays down. Not as surrender to defeat, but as surrender to truth. You do not need to prove you are worthy of healing. You are healing. You are the evidence of life moving through what once felt lifeless. You are the echo of divinity reverberating through a form that has forgotten its origin. But even in that forgetting, grace has never left your side. And grace does not keep score. Grace does not ask, "Are you ready?" It simply arrives. It pours itself into your cracks, not to seal them, but to remind you that light travels best through the open. So now, breathe. Breathe not to fill a void, but to return to the rhythm that has always been yours, the breath that does not belong to yesterday or tomorrow, the breath that does not ask what you've endured. It simply is, as you are, unconditioned, untouched, free. In that breath, notice there is no wound, there is no label, there is no shame, there is only presence. And in presence, all things are made whole. You were never meant to carry your story like a shield. You were meant to live beyond it, like a sky that has finally remembered its own vastness. Your pain was never the problem. Your attachment to it was. And now, even that can be met with compassion. Let your suffering rest. It has done what it came to do. It brought you to this edge, this horizon of awakening. Now, your task is not to keep digging into the earth for answers, but to look up, to see the light that has been waiting to rise from the center of your being, a light that does not chase away the dark, but makes peace with it, a light that knows the dark was never its enemy, only its beginning. You are not here to become someone different. You are here to remember who you've always been beneath the forgetting. And what a glorious remembrance it is when the self drops away and only the self remains quiet, infinite, free. And when you stand in that freedom, even your story changes. Not because the facts are erased, but because your relationship to them is no longer one of bondage. You no longer say, "This happened to me." You say, "This moved through me and it awakened me." This is your power. Not in rewriting the events, but in reclaiming your identity. You are not your wounds. You are the one who walks forward anyway, barefoot on sacred ground, each step a prayer, not for answers, but for deeper awareness. You are the one who stopped waiting to be rescued because you finally remembered you are not broken, you are becoming. And becoming is not a straight path. It is a spiral. It brings you back to what you thought you had outgrown, but this time with eyes that see differently, with a heart that no longer braces, with a presence that no longer flinches. That is growth. Not the absence of pain, but the absence of resistance to it. Your liberation is not found in denying what hurt you. Your liberation is found in no longer confusing that pain with who you are. You are not your wounds. You are the ocean that contains them. You are the sky that opens wider than the clouds. You are the still flame in the center of the fire. You are the unshaken witness, the silent depth, the invisible, invincible truth. And this is the beginning of your return. You are not your wounds. You are the sacred pause between stories, the breath that existed before the wound ever touched you. You are the soft voice that whispers, I am still here, even after everything else has gone silent. And that voice, that quiet, unwavering pulse of your being is not fragile. It is not wounded. It is eternal. The pain may have entered through the door of your humanity, but it has never reached the truth of your divinity. And the more you remember this, the less power your suffering holds over you. The wound loses its grip, not because it disappears, but because you no longer place your identity inside it. You become vast, so vast, that the wound itself dissolves into the infinity of your presence. This is not philosophy. This is freedom. It is the sacred moment you stop needing life to rewrite what happened and begin allowing life to reveal who you've become because of it. And not in a hardened way, no, not with armor, but with transparency, with the gentleness of one who has let the fire pass through and who now carries light where the weight used to be. You begin to walk differently. You no longer measure yourself by the reactions of others because you understand that truth does not require validation. You no longer shrink when challenged because you are rooted in something deeper than reaction. You are grounded in awareness. You see, awakening does not mean the storm stops. It means you stop fearing the rain. You let the sky do what it must because you found the shelter that can't be touched, the quiet cathedral within where the soul kneels not in suffering, but in surrender. And that surrender is not a giving up. It is a rising into life as it is, not as it was, not as you wished it to be, but as it is in this moment, whole and holy and completely enough. There is no greater peace than this. To no longer need to be seen through the lens of your pain. To no longer offer your past as an introduction. To no longer explain yourself through the trauma, but to let your presence speak for itself. You are not your wounds. You are the silence that does not seek applause. You are the love that did not shut down when the world forgot how to love. You are the steady flame that has learned how to glow in the absence of fuel. That is your miracle. That is your truth, and it cannot be taken. So now breathe again. Feel that breath as if it is the first. Feel it not as survival, but as a sacred choice. Each inhale a testament that you belong here. Each exhale a release of the weight that was never yours to carry. You do not need to hold on to your suffering to honor it. You honor it by living freely. You honor it by laughing fully. You honor it by loving with your whole being, knowing that you have earned this joy, not in spite of what you've been through, but because you had the courage to return to joy anyway. And now the time for waiting is over. You've waited long enough to be chosen. You've waited long enough to feel whole. You've waited long enough to begin, but you were never waiting for something outside you. You were waiting for your own return. And here you are, not perfect, not fixed, but real, unedited, unapologetic, unbound. You are the evidence that light is stronger than history. You are the embodiment of a soul that refused to stay asleep. You are not your wounds. You are the healing. You are the resurrection. You are the morning after the longest night, quiet, luminous, unshakably alive. And as you walk forward now, know this: nothing real can ever be lost. And nothing unreal was ever truly yours. The love that remains is the love that is you. The peace that remains is the peace that never left. The self that remains is eternal. And it is that self, beyond the scars, beyond the stories, beyond the names the world gave you. It is that self who speaks now, gently, clearly, undeniably. I am not what happened. I am what rose from it. You are not your wounds. You are the sunrise the night could not stop. You are the breath that broke through silence. You are the rebirth written into every cell of your being. You are the echo of divinity carried forward through time, through tears, through transformation. And now, You are ready to rise, not as a survivor, not as a name defined by endurance, but as the presence that was never harmed to begin with. Because what you're awakening into is not a version of you that was once broken and is now repaired. That would still make the wound your origin. No, you are awakening into the truth that your essence has never been wounded. Your soul has always been whole. The pain did not create your strength, it revealed it. The loss did not give you depth, it uncovered it. The betrayal did not make you wise, it simply burned away the illusion that you were ever separate from wisdom itself. You are not the consequence of life. You are the cause of your own awakening. The creator, the source, rising back into recognition of itself. You are the soul, remembering that it was never at the mercy of the wound, it was the light observing it all. And so the old identities begin to fall away. The story of I am the abandoned one, gone. The story of I am the one who failed, gone. The story of I am the one they hurt, gone. And in the sacred quiet, beneath those voices, a new truth emerges. Not new because it was created, but new because you finally stopped looking away from it. A truth so simple, so clear, so alive, it feels like coming home. I am not what happened to me. I am what remains. The silence that listens, the love that keeps opening, the stillness that never flinched. And in this space here, now there is no effort required. There is no proving. There is no defense, because the soul has nothing to protect. It simply is. It shines because that is its nature. It loves because that is its breath. It gives because withholding is foreign to its being. When you live from this remembrance, the world changes, not because it stops being chaotic, but because you stop being entangled. You are no longer pulled into the past or hurled into imagined futures. You become presence itself. And presence does not resist life, it embraces it. You begin to see even the ones who hurt you differently. You no longer carry the weight of bitterness. You no longer mistake justice for vengeance. You no longer see your pain as a weapon or your healing as a performance. You begin to love them, not to excuse them, but because you no longer fear them. You see them through the eyes of the soul. And that is the final gift of awakening. Forgiveness, not the kind that demands forgetting, but the kind that no longer requires remembering. You forgive not because they deserve peace, but because you do. Because every ounce of energy you spend on resentment is a breath you steal from your own becoming. Forgiveness is not a release of them. It is a return to you, to the quiet garden of your own being, to the soft river that still flows, to the divine light that never once dimmed. And once you have returned, truly returned, you will find something unexpected. Gratitude, not gratitude for the wound, but gratitude through the wound. You'll see how it brought you to the edge of yourself. You'll see how it burned away every lie. You'll see how it left you with nothing but truth. And in that emptiness, you are finally free. Free to remember what you are. You are not your wounds. You are the sacred stillness that remains when everything else falls away. You are the soul that made it through. You are the presence that has nothing left to fear. You are the truth that cannot be undone. You are the one who knows. Nothing is missing. Nothing is broken. Nothing is lost. All is held. All is known. All is love. So now, let the old stories rest. Let the echoes fade. Let the wound close, not as an ending, but as a birth. The time of contraction is over. Now comes the expansion wide, infinite, true. You are not your wounds. You are the space they passed through. You are the eternity that survived. And now you are free. Truly, wholly, finally free. There is a sacred moment in every soul's journey when it finally stops running, not from the world, not from failure, not even from pain, but from itself. A moment so quiet it cannot be heard with the ears, yet so loud it echoes through lifetimes. That is the moment of awakening. And it is not found in striving nor earned through suffering. It comes when you realize this one truth. You cannot move forward holding on. It's a simple sentence, almost forgettable, yet within it lies the entire path to peace, to love, to healing, to liberation. And like all great truths, it doesn't need your agreement to remain true. It only asks for your surrender. But that, for many, is the hardest part, because we cling not only to what hurt us, but to what shaped us. We cling to old identities, to past betrayals, to outdated beliefs, to fear disguised as loyalty, to guilt disguised as love, to pain disguised as purpose. We say we want freedom, but we carry chains of memory around our neck like heirlooms. We say we want peace, but we fuel wars inside our minds with stories of how it should have been, how they should have acted, how we should have known. But life is not lived in the should. It is lived in the now. And now this breath, this moment, this heartbeat is not waiting for you to fix the past. It's waiting for you to release it. Letting go is not forgetting. It is remembering who you are without the burden. It is not denial. It is deeper acceptance. It is saying, I no longer choose to be bound by what no longer serves the becoming of my soul. And that is not weakness. That is not spiritual bypassing. That is the courage of a soul who has seen the fire walk through the ashes and no longer wishes to carry the smoke. You were not born to carry resentment like a badge. You were not created to wear your pain like identity. You were not placed in this body to rehearse tragedy or cling to stories that diminish your light. You are not the wound. You are not the betrayal. You are not the shame. You are the awareness that sees it, the presence that observes it, the light that transcends it. But that light cannot move if you keep anchoring it to old storms. The past is not a place you live. It is a classroom you pass through. And if you don't leave the classroom, you cannot graduate. If you keep rewriting the same paragraph of pain in your mind, how can the next chapter begin? The story of your life is not meant to be one sentence on repeat. It is meant to evolve, to rise, to grow wings. But first, you must loosen your grip on the weight. Ask yourself gently, what have I been holding on to that is holding me back? Is it an apology I never received? A mistake I made years ago? A love that didn't stay? A parent who never saw me? A self-image rooted in survival but starving my spirit? These things, real as they were, are not real now. They are echoes. And you, dear soul, are not an echo. You are the sound. You are the presence. You are the living, breathing miracle that was never meant to dwell in shadows. The ego will tell you that letting go is losing, that forgiveness is weakness, that your pain is power, and to release it is to betray yourself. But the ego is the voice of fear, and fear is clever but not wise. It will try to convince you that if you let go, you'll lose control. But here's the paradox. Only in surrender do you find real control. Only in release do you find peace. Only in unclenching do your hands become free to receive the gifts of now. There is no freedom in reliving the betrayal. There is no healing in reopening the wound. There is no love in rehearsing your unworthiness. So when will you stop? Not because you're forced to, not because someone told you to, but because your soul is tired of dragging yesterday into today, because your heart is heavy with stories that no longer speak your truth, because somewhere deep inside you remember what it felt like to be free before the world told you to be ashamed, before life convinced you to fear, before you mistook survival for identity. You are not here to survive anymore. You are here to live fully, freely, boldly, and living cannot happen in reverse. Release is not a moment. It is a practice, a daily offering of the soul, a choice to say, today, I no longer participate in my own imprisonment. It's waking up and gently, without blame, without shame, placing one thought after another on the altar of surrender. It's saying To your mind, thank you for protecting me. But I don't need this story to be safe anymore. I don't need this pain to remind me who I am. Because who you are does not come from what hurt you. It comes from what lives beneath the hurt, the silent stillness, the space between thoughts. The observer who never changes, no matter how much your story does, this observer, this divine spark, is always whispering, let it go. Let it go so you can rise. Let it go so you can feel joy without fear. Let it go so you can move forward not with bitterness, but with wisdom. Let it go not because it didn't matter, but because you do. And that's the heart of it. You matter more than the memory. You matter more than the injustice. You matter more than the approval you never got. Your peace matters more than your need to be right. Your freedom matters more than the familiar pain you've rehearsed for years. But to honor your worth, you must be willing to unclench, to stop worshiping the pain as teacher and begin seeing it as doorway, to stop bowing at the altar of memory and begin dancing in the sanctuary of now. Letting go is not something you do once and forget. It is something you live. It is a frequency you choose, a vibration of lightness, a declaration of trust, trust that you are safe without the story, trust that you are held even in the unknown, trust that the future does not need your wounds to build itself. It only needs your presence. And the present, this sacred, miraculous now, is always whispering, come home. Come home not to who they wanted you to be, but who you were before the world taught you to hold on. Come home to your breath, to your body, to your being. You cannot move forward holding on. Not because you're bad, not because you're broken, but because life is motion and clinging is a form of spiritual paralysis. You were not made to stay stuck. You were made to evolve, to open, to expand. So loosen the grip just a little. Breathe into the space that opens. Trust what rises to the surface. And listen, truly listen to the still voice within that's been waiting, not for your perfection, but for your willingness. The willingness to be free. There is a place beyond thought, beyond pain, beyond identity, where all that remains is awareness, pure, infinite, undivided awareness. It does not grieve the past. It does not fear the future. It does not hold on. It simply is. And this place is you. The eternal you. The you that cannot be damaged by what they said. The you that cannot be diminished by what happened. The you that doesn't seek validation, doesn't chase worth, doesn't collect grievances as proof of identity. That you is still here, beneath the layers, beneath the noise, beneath the stories that you keep recycling, like old photographs, whose colors have long faded, but whose emotional residue still stings. You keep returning to the wound because some part of you believes healing is found in the familiarity of pain. But healing is not found in rereading the same chapter. Healing is found in the decision to close the book. You don't have to destroy it. You don't have to burn the pages. You simply have to stop opening it every morning as if your worth is still written there. You are not what happened to you. You are what you choose to become in the space after. And that space, that divine, limitless, quiet space, is where your power has always lived. The power to let go, to forgive, to transcend, not because it makes what happened okay, but because it frees you from the prison of identifying with it. The greatest act of liberation is not marching out into the world demanding change. It is turning inward and saying, I refuse to suffer twice. Once for the event, and again for the memory of it. That is radical freedom. That is soul maturity. That is awakening. To awaken is not to fix yourself. It is to remember you were never broken. It is to gently, lovingly begin removing the masks. The one that says, I am a victim. The one that says, I am not enough. The one that says, I must be strong by never letting go. Strength is not resistance. It is surrender. It is the surrender of the false self, the one built on defense, on survival, on gripping, so that the true self can emerge. And when it does, oh, how light the world becomes. Because suddenly, you are not walking around armored by trauma. You are walking around open, vulnerable, whole. You are no longer echoing the past in every relationship, every silence, every expectation. You are present, here, awake. And presence, true presence, has no room for yesterday's ghosts. The mind will try to tempt you back. It will whisper, but they never apologized. It will shout, but you were wronged. It will plead, but if you let go, who will protect you? Let it speak. Let it cry. Let it roar. And then smile at it the way you would smile at a child who still believes monsters live under the bed. Because fear is a child, and the ego is its bedtime story. But you are the parent now. You are the one who says, shh, it's okay. We don't need to hold on to that anymore. We don't need to keep the pain to feel safe. We are safe now. We are loved now. We are free now. And in that moment, the soul exhales, because the soul has always known letting go is not loss. It is return. It is the return to your nature, to your wholeness, to the place before fear taught you to close, before shame taught you to shrink, before pain taught you to pretend. You don't have to pretend anymore. Not to be okay, not to be strong, not to be what someone else needed you to be so you could feel loved. Love does not ask for pretending. Love only asks for presence. And presence cannot enter a heart that is clenched. Unclench, let the light in. Let it find the parts of you that still believe pain is proof. Let it bathe the corners of your spirit where old voices still live, repeating old verdicts. You're not worthy. You're too much. You should have known better. Let the light find those voices and show them the door, not with anger, but with compassion. Because they were trying to protect you once. But you don't need protection now. You need truth. You need softness. You need grace. And grace is what arrives when you let go. It does not enter through the door of control. It enters through the window of surrender. It drips down like rain on a dry desert soul, refreshing, forgiving, soothing. And once you felt it, truly felt it, you will never again mistake holding on for strength. So breathe, and as you breathe, feel the weight begin to lift, not all at once, but breath by breath. Let each inhale be a promise. I choose life. Let each exhale be a release. I surrender the rest. Because holding on is not sacred. Letting go is. Holding on is not loyal. Letting go is. Holding on is not love. Letting go is. Love says, I want you to be free, even if you is a version of yourself still stuck in yesterday, even if you is someone who hurt you but doesn't have power over you anymore, even if you is the person you thought you had to be. You don't. You don't have to be anything today except free. And to be free, you must make peace with the fact that the past will never be different. And that's okay. It doesn't need to change for you to heal. It only needs your willingness to no longer carry it as your identity. You are not here to avenge the past. You are here to resurrect the present. You are not here to prove your pain. You are here to embody your light. And that light, oh beloved, that light was never lost. Only hidden beneath layers of thought, of memory, of identification. But light is not destroyed by shadows. It only waits to be uncovered. Uncover it, not tomorrow, not next year, now. Because every day you wait is a day you feed what no longer serves you. Every moment you delay is a moment you remain bound, and you are not born to be bound. You are born to remember you cannot move forward holding on. Not because you're doing it wrong, but because you were never meant to stay in one place, especially not one built from pain. You are fluid, you are ever-changing, you are movement itself. Life through you wants to dance, not dwell, wants to rise, not ruminate, wants to create, not cling. So step into that stream, let go of the banks, trust that where it takes you is exactly where your soul has been trying to go all along. Freedom is not in the future. Freedom is in the decision to stop gripping the past. Let go. Let go, because the moment you do, your soul will rise, not as a victim, not as a survivor, but as what it has always been beneath the story, a miracle. And miracles don't hold on, they flow. There comes a moment when the soul is no longer content with just surviving, when getting by, hanging on, and pushing through start to feel like spiritual starvation. When even your most convincing justifications for pain begin to sound hollow in your own ears. This is the moment of divine dissatisfaction, not with the world, not with others, not even with your past, but with the false self you've outgrown. Because pain has an expiration date, but only you can choose to honor it. You are not here to rehearse hurt until it becomes your home. You are here to outgrow it, transcend it, gently set it down like old clothes that no longer fit. And that's the thing about holding on. It often feels like protection when it's really stagnation. It feels like strength when it's really resistance. It feels like identity when it's really avoidance. Avoidance of truth, avoidance of presence, avoidance of the sacred emptiness that comes before transformation. But emptiness is not something to fear. It is the womb of rebirth. The ego will do everything it can to avoid this void. It will bargain, analyze, justify, and distract. It will fill the space with noise, with judgment, with replays and projections, because the ego knows that if you sit in the silence long enough, you will remember who you really are, and the ego cannot survive in that remembrance. Because in truth, you are not the one who was abandoned, betrayed, or rejected. You are the one who witnessed it. You are not the character in the story. You are the light that holds the entire story. You are not the mistake. You are not the regret. You are not the sorrow. You are the sky, and these were only passing storms. So why build a house beneath the clouds? Why stay anchored to a moment that no longer exists? Why continue to argue for your pain as if it gives you meaning? You do not need pain to prove your depth. You do not need sorrow to prove your strength. You do not need struggle to prove your value. You, beloved, are valuable because you exist, not because you endured. You are worthy because you breathe, not because you suffered. This is the cosmic truth. You are already enough, already whole, already free. You only suffer when you forget. And forgetting is easy in a world that teaches you to collect wounds like currency. You are praised for your scars, but not your healing. Admired for your endurance, but not your peace. Celebrated for your hustle, but not your stillness. But healing is not a performance. Peace is not applause, and stillness is not laziness. It is presence. Presence that allows you to finally say, I am ready to let go. Not because I am weak, but because I am done confusing pain with purpose. I am done mistaking familiar for right. I am done feeding a story that keeps me small. The story is not who you are. It's who you were when you didn't yet know how free you could be. And you are learning now. You are beginning to see that the only chains still holding you are the ones you keep feeding with your focus. That memory only has weight when you choose to lift it. That pain only echoes when you keep calling its name. You are beginning to see that letting go is not erasing it, is evolving. You are not deleting the past. You are releasing its grip on your future. You are not abandoning what shaped you. You are honoring what you've outgrown. And just like the tree does not mourn the leaves it sheds each autumn, your soul does not grieve the stories it no longer needs. It rejoices. It dances. It rises lighter into the sky of infinite becoming. Let yourself shed. Let yourself become. Let yourself be free of the need to fix what never needed fixing in the first place, because your worth, your divinity, your light was never broken, only buried. Buried beneath layers of not enough. Buried beneath they don't love me. Buried beneath I failed. Beneath they left. Beneath I should have done more. But you cannot breathe deeply when you are buried in shame. You cannot rise when you are wrapped in guilt. You cannot love when you are still holding on to a version of yourself who was only trying to survive. It's time to rise, not by force, but by release. Not by adding more, but by surrendering what never belonged to your essence. The pain was never yours to keep. The betrayal was never yours to carry. The guilt was never yours to wear. These were experiences, not definitions. Events, not destinies. Chapters, not conclusions. So take a breath, and with that breath, send love to every version of yourself who didn't know how to let go, to the one who stayed too long, to the one who held on too tightly, to the one who thought that by carrying the pain, they were proving something noble, something holy. And then, with your next breath, release them. Let the younger you rest. Let the sorrow be seen, then dissolve. Let the river of now carry away the residue of yesterday, not with effort, with grace, because grace is the rhythm of the soul when it's finally free from pretending. You don't have to pretend anymore, not to be fine, not to be strong, not to be perfect. You only have to be present. And in presence, there is no room for clinging. Clinging requires tension. Holding on creates resistance. But your soul was made for flow, for expansion, for becoming. And all becoming begins with release. This is the paradox of the spiritual path. We rise not by reaching, but by releasing. Not by striving, but by softening. Not by gripping, but by trusting. Trust the letting go. Trust the space that opens when you no longer identify with your pain. Trust the silence that comes when the ego stops shouting. Trust the you that emerges when the past is no longer your mirror. You are not what you lost. You are what remains, and what remains is more than enough. So here you are, standing at the edge of a new moment. A moment untouched by your past, untainted by your fears, and unburdened by your stories. A sacred threshold. And the invitation has never been clearer step forward. But you cannot step forward with clenched fists. You cannot move into light while gripping shadows. You cannot rise in truth while wrapped in yesterday. The soul longs to soar, but it cannot fly while you're still tethered to the anchor of what once was. And so you must choose not with the mind, not with logic, not with fear, but with faith. The faith that what lies ahead is more aligned with who you are becoming than what lies behind. And that is the real miracle of letting go. It's not the disappearance of pain, it's the appearance of peace. It's not erasing the story, it's rewriting your relationship to it. It's not pretending it didn't matter, it's realizing you matter more. You are the main character of your life, not the villain of someone else's. You are the author, not the victim. You are the creator, not the captive. But to create, to author, to move you, must put the old pen down. The one that only knows how to write in grief. The one that only sketches in scarcity. The one that doesn't yet believe in your joy. Hold your own hand now. And let the sacred in you rise up and say, no more. No more giving my energy to what cannot love me back. No more feeding the past with the power of the present. No more trading my future for familiar suffering. And in that vow, that sacred, silent vow, you are born again. Not into perfection, but into permission. Permission to love without fear. Permission to forgive without conditions. Permission to be whole without apology. There is nothing noble in keeping your pain alive. You do not need to honor it by repeating it. You do not need to prove your endurance by wearing it. What you went through shaped you, yes, but now your liberation will define you. The ego will say, but if I let go, who am I? And the soul will whisper, finally, yourself. The self that is free of shame, because it remembers that mistakes are part of growth. The self that is free of resentment, because it recognizes that carrying poison does not heal the wound. The self that is free of the need to perform, to prove, to punish, because it has finally come home. And home is not a destination. It is a state of being, a return to presence, a return to peace, a return to the divine. And that's what letting go truly is. It is a return, not a loss, not an ending, not a giving up, but a homecoming, a sacred reunion with your true nature. And in that reunion, there is no room for guilt, no room for proving, no room for replaying what already happened 1,000 times in your mind. There is only breath. And this breath, this holy inhale and exhale, it does not live in yesterday. It does not carry your story. It does not ask who was right. It only asks, are you here? And so I ask you now, are you here? Are you in this breath? Or still lost in a moment that no longer exists? Are you ready to rise? Or still bargaining with a version of yourself that was built on survival? Are you willing, not perfectly, not forever, just in this moment, to let go? To let go of the old pain, not because it wasn't real, but because your healing is more important. To let go of the resentment, not because they deserve forgiveness, but because you deserve peace. To let go of the story, not because it didn't shape you, but because it no longer defines you. You are allowed to be new. You are allowed to walk away from the pain. You are allowed to lay down the guilt. You are allowed to stop carrying your suffering as proof of your worth. You are allowed to be light. And so, in this moment, choose. Choose freedom over familiarity. Choose peace over performance. Choose presence over pain. Let go. Let go. Let go. Not just once, not just today, but as a practice, a rhythm, a way of life. Because this moment, this sacred now, is waiting for you, and it has no room for what you refuse to release. So unclench, exhale, come home to yourself, and remember, you cannot move forward holding on. But the moment you let go even just a little, the universe moves with you. The stars lean closer, the wind shifts, and your path, once clouded by grief, opens with grace. This is your time, not to forget who you were, but to become who you are. Not to avenge your past, but to embody your peace. Not to prove your story, but to live your truth. You are not your pain. You are not your past. You are not your ego. You are not your fear. You are the light that has waited patiently beneath it all. And now that light is ready to rise. Let it move through you. Let it love through you. Let it speak, dance, sing, weep, awaken. Let it be your truth. Let it be your guide. Let it be your home. Because your soul was never meant to carry the burden of what no longer is. It was meant to live in the beauty of what always was. And what always was is you free, whole. Now,